2:17 a.m. Persian Gulf, 34 nautical miles northeast of Bahrain. Two Iranian Noor anti-ship missiles just launched from the coastline, bearing directly toward USS Mason, an Arleigh Burke-class guided missile destroyer on patrol in international waters. Mason's radar had less than 4 minutes to respond, and the Persian Gulf was seconds from becoming a war zone. Welcome to Warfare Signal. Tonight we're walking through the night. An Iranian missile launch nearly triggered a full military confrontation in the Gulf, and why the decisions made in the next 18 minutes determined whether it stayed contained. Because this wasn't a drill, and it almost didn't end the way it did. To understand what made this night different, you need to understand where USS Mason was, and why she was there. The Arleigh Burke-class destroyer is one of the most capable surface combatants in the world. Displacement, 9,200 tons fully loaded. Armament, 96-cell Mark 41. Vertical launch system loaded with standard missiles, Tomahawk cruise missiles, and ASROC anti-submarine rockets. Two 20mm Phalanx CIWS mounts, a 5-inch deck gun, and an AN/SPY-1D phased array radar, capable of tracking more than 100 targets simultaneously at ranges exceeding 200 nautical miles. USS Mason wasn't there by accident. 3 weeks before that night, Iranian fast attack boats had conducted a series of aggressive maneuvers in the southern Gulf, closing within 150 yards of U.S. vessels, crossing bow lines, broadcasting threatening communications on maritime radio frequencies. The incidents were classified as unsafe and unprofessional in official statements. Internally, 5th Fleet commanders had raised the threat posture. Mason was part of the response. The ship had been on station for 11 days. Crew of 281 sailors. The commanding officer, a post-command captain with 2 previous Gulf deployments, had ordered heightened radar watch after an intelligence brief circulated 2 days earlier, suggesting possible Iranian anti-ship missile activity in the sector. That brief had rated the threat as low probability, elevated attention. That rating was about to be revised. At 2:11 a.m., Mason's radar operator detected an unusual emission pattern from the northeastern coastline, approximately 47 nautical miles out. Not a launch, not yet. A fire control radar activation. Iranian coastal defense batteries had illuminated. The operator flagged it. Standard procedure. Iranian batteries activate periodically. Exercises, equipment tests, harassment signal. The contact was logged. The watch continued. 4 minutes later, at 2:15 a.m., 2 thermal signatures rose above the Iranian coastline. Fast movers. Low altitude. Sea skimming trajectory. The fire control system began tracking automatically. Classification took 11 seconds. 11 seconds during which no one on that bridge knew whether those contacts were commercial aircraft, wayward drones, or something designed to sink a ship. At 2:16 a.m., the system returned its assessment. Anti-ship missiles. Probable type. C-802 Noor. Speed. Mach 0.9. Closing at approximately 680 knots. Time to impact. 3 minutes, 47 seconds. General quarters was called at 2:16:22 a.m. The next 90 seconds were controlled chaos. Sailors sprinting to battle stations. Damage control teams sealing compartments. The Combat Information Center converting from watch routine to full engagement posture. The ship's electronic warfare suite spinning up. Every system on Mason going from standby to active in under 2 minutes. The way it had rehearsed dozens of times in drills. Except this time, the contacts were real. The captain reached the bridge at 2:16:58 a.m., 36 seconds after general quarters. He had 2 confirmed inbound missiles in less than 3 minutes. The C-802 Noor is not a crude weapon. Derived from the Chinese C-802 anti-ship platform, it carries a 165-kilogram semi-armor-piercing warhead. It flies at wave-top altitude, sometimes as low as 5 meters above the surface, specifically engineered to defeat radar horizon detection and compress the CIWS engagement window. Iran has fired derivatives of this system before. In 2006, Hezbollah struck the Israeli Navy corvette Bishur NS Hanif with a C-802 variant off the Lebanese coast. The ship survived. Barely. 4 sailors died. Mason's crew knew exactly what those missiles could do. At 2:17:03 a.m., the ship's AN/SLQ-32 electronic warfare system began jamming, attempting to break the missile's active radar seeker heads and force them off trajectory. No confirmed effect. Both contacts continued inbound, locked on. At 2:17:31 a.m., the first Standard missile, SM-2, was ready for launch. But the captain hadn't given the order, because there was a problem. The rules of engagement. Under 5th Fleet standing orders at that time, engagement of incoming missiles required confirmation of hostile intent and positive identification of launch origin within recognized international waters. The fire control radar activation had been logged. The missile contacts were confirmed, but the launch coordinates placed the origin point inside a coastal zone that overlapped a disputed maritime boundary. One Iran claimed as territorial waters, and the United States did not recognize. The captain had a direct radio link to 5th Fleet headquarters. He used it. 5th Fleet, Mason actual. 2 confirmed inbound anti-ship. Time to impact. 2 minutes, 14 seconds. Request authorization to engage. The response came back in 41 seconds. Mason, 5th Fleet, you are authorized to defend the ship. Weapons free. 41 seconds. In a 2-minute window, that's not nothing. But they still had time. Now, the captain had 3 options. He could fire his SM-2 interceptors immediately, accepting that one or both missiles might not be killed cleanly, and prepare the Phalanx as backstop. He could fire a full salvo, 2 SM-2s against 2 targets, spending interceptors aggressively to maximize kill probability at range. Or he could rely on the jamming, hold the SM-2S, and let the CIWS handle it at close range. What would you order? Comment A, B, or C below. The captain at 2:18:19 a.m., the first Standard missile left the vertical launch system. 7 seconds later, the second followed. Both interceptors tracked outbound and descended toward the waterline, pursuing the incoming contacts on a collision geometry. In the Combat Information Center, the intercept solution calculated in real time. Track 1001, the lead missile, was 5 nautical miles out and closing. Track 1002 was 6 nautical miles, slightly higher altitude, trailing by 8 seconds. At 2:18:44 a.m., track 1001 detonated. Not a clean kill. The SM-2 had triggered its proximity fuse. Close, very close. But the Iranian missile continued forward on a degraded flight path. Still flying, still inbound, losing altitude, trailing debris, but covering distance. The Phalanx CIWS activated automatically. The close-in weapon system, a 20mm Gatling cannon capable of cycling 4,500 rounds per minute, has one job. Anything the missiles don't stop, the gun stops. It doesn't wait for orders. It doesn't deliberate. It fires. Track 1001 crossed inside 500 meters. The Phalanx 1.3 seconds. Approximately 97 rounds expended. Track 1001 detonated 340 meters off the port bow. The ship shuddered. The concussion rolled through the hull from stem to stern. Shrapnel, jagged fragments of Iranian missile traveling at several hundred meters per second, peppered the port side. 3 sailors on the weather deck took lacerations. No penetration of the hull, no flooding, no fires. Track 1002 never made it close. The second SM-2 intercepted cleanly at 4 nautical miles. Full detonation. Nothing reached engagement range. Both threats neutralized. 2:19:11 a.m. Total engagement time from first detection to last detonation. 2 minutes, 49 seconds. The ship was alive. And now the second problem began. USS Mason had just been fired on by Iranian missiles. The launch site was confirmed. A coastal battery on the Iranian shoreline. Coordinates logged, radar track on record. The ship was intact. The crew was alive. But 2 deliberate anti-ship missiles had just been fired at a United States Navy warship in international waters. This was no longer a question of defense. The captain had a loaded Tomahawk strike package. 2 missiles designated against the launch battery. The targeting solution was solid. The self-defense authorization was already granted. He had 6 minutes before that battery could reload. In Washington, no one was sleeping anymore. The National Security Council convened an emergency session. The president was briefed. CENTCOM commander was on the line. The question on the table wasn't, did Iran fire? The evidence was unambiguous. The question was, what America would do about it. That deliberation took 22 minutes. During those 22 minutes, USS Mason was moving. Maximum turn, putting distance between the ship and the launch site. And at 2:31 a.m., Mason's radar picked up new contacts departing Bandar Abbas. 3 Iranian fast attack boats, bearing southeast at high speed, heading toward the destroyer's last known position. Mason had already moved. The fast boats didn't know exactly where she was, but they were coming. At the same time, the carrier strike group, USS Abraham Lincoln, operating 140 nautical miles to the south, had already turned north. 2 FA-18 Super Hornets from VFA-27 were airborne and closing at 400 knots. Air cover would arrive in approximately 14 minutes. The fast boats would reach the area in approximately 22 minutes, an 8-minute window in which Mason would have air cover, while the Iranians were still approaching. 8 minutes, one decision pending from Washington. At 2:41 a.m., the order came down from the National Security Council. No strike on the launch battery. The decision, according to post-incident assessments reviewed by congressional staff, was shaped by 3 factors. First, the intercept had succeeded. Ship and crew were intact. Second, a strike on Iranian territory, even against a military installation, would constitute a significant escalation with unpredictable regional consequences. Third, multiple Allied nation vessels were operating in Gulf waters that night. A retaliatory strike without prior coordination carried serious secondary risks. The battery would not be struck. Mason was ordered to maintain defensive posture and withdraw to 60 nautical miles from the Iranian coastline. The Iranian fast boats turned back at 2:49 a.m., roughly simultaneous with the arrival of the 2 FA-18S overhead. Possibly coincidence. More likely the result of a radar that just picked up 2 Hornets at low altitude, closing fast. By 4 a.m., USS Mason was at 60 nautical miles, conducting damage assessment. The hull had taken 23 separate shrapnel impacts on the port side, none of them penetrating. The Phalanx had performed exactly as designed. The SM-2 had produced an imperfect kill on track 1001, a proximity detonation that failed to fully destroy the target. But the layered defense architecture had held. 3 sailors were treated for lacerations. All returned to duty within 6 hours. The ship had survived. But the engagement had exposed something the Navy needed to examine carefully. 41 seconds for weapons-free authorization in a 2-minute engagement window. The after-action report, portions of which were later reviewed by congressional oversight staff, noted that the engagement had been successful, but had exposed timing vulnerabilities in the authorization chain that could be consequential in a higher tempo engagement environment. In plain language, 41 seconds was too long. Within 60 days, 5th Fleet had revised its standing rules of engagement, granting commanding officers expanded self-defense authority in the Gulf without requiring real-time confirmation from higher command before engaging inbound missiles. That change came from one night. 2 missiles, 1 ship. There's something else worth examining about what Iran fired. The C-802. Noor delivered a single 2-missile salvo against a single ship. The intercept succeeded. The layered defense worked. But the mathematics of saturation attack are not comfortable reading. An Arleigh Burke carries 96 vertical launch cells. SM-2s share those cells with Tomahawks, ASROC, and other mission-critical loads. A standard Gulf configuration leaves the ship with enough interceptors for multiple engagements, but not unlimited ones. The Phalanx carries approximately 1,500 rounds per mount. At 4,500 rounds per minute, that's 20 seconds of fire, divided across however many targets arrive. Iran knows these numbers. They've modeled saturation attacks. Wargame projections from multiple defense institutes indicate that a coordinated salvo of 8 to 12 missiles against a single Arleigh Burke significantly degrades intercept probability below the threshold where CIWS alone can guarantee survival. 2 missiles was not the threat ceiling. It was a data collection operation. The Iranian government issued a statement 12 hours after the incident, claiming the launch had been a defensive exercise response to provocation, an assertion immediately rejected by the Pentagon, which released full radar tracks, electronic warfare logs, and the engagement timeline. The evidence was unambiguous, deliberate, unprovoked launch against a vessel in recognized international waters. Iran didn't retract the statement. The UN Security Council convened an emergency session. 3 permanent members called for restraint. 2 called for accountability. Nothing was resolved. In the weeks following, maritime insurance consortium Lloyd's of London raised war risk premiums for Gulf transits by 34%. Commercial shipping companies filed route deviation requests, moving traffic further from the Iranian coastline. The Strait's throughput, approximately 20% of global oil supply, continued moving through the same choke point. It still does. One of the 3 sailors treated for lacerations that night was a sonar technician from Georgia, later interviewed as part of a Naval War College stress assessment study. His description of the engagement was brief. "We trained for that," he said. "We trained for exactly that. And it still felt like the longest 3 minutes of my life." The launch battery that fired on Mason was rebuilt and resupplied within 9 days. It remained operational. Here's what you need to understand about that night in the Persian Gulf. The United States Navy intercepted 2 anti-ship missiles, protected 281 sailors, and kept a potential war from starting, all within a 3-minute window. That's the capability. That's what decades of doctrine, layered defense, architecture, and trained crews deliver when the systems work together under pressure. But the battery is still there, the fast boats are still there, and the authorization chain that took 41 seconds to clear a weapons-free order in a 2-minute engagement window. That's not a fully solved problem. The rules were changed. The window got shorter. But next time, the salvo may not be 2 missiles. Iran didn't fire those weapons by accident. Post-incident assessments consistently concluded the launch was deliberate. A calculated probe of American response time, intercept capability, and political willingness to retaliate. They got 3 answers that night. The question isn't whether they'll test those answers again. The question is what adjustments they make when they do. Stay vigilant. This is Warfare Signal.